Bonjour, dear friends from the fabulous Raymond Vineyards. This is the entrance of Raymond, the symbolization of your own illusion. Why so many great frames? For you to memorize what you see and don't see, and for you to interpret what you see within the frames that you choose. This is why this has become such an iconic place. It's all about illusion. It's all about surrealism, like life. So come and enjoy our fabulous time at Raymond Vineyards.
Hi, I'm winemaker Brian Maloney, your special guest host for JCB Live Wine Styles, and I'm here with Director of Gardens, Joe Papendick, and we're here to start a garden. And we're over at Raymond Vineyards right now because over at DeLoach, we've been expert gardeners for many, many years. And, well, honestly, Raymond needs a little bit of help. So Joe's over here getting things started. Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about today and what we're doing?
All right, well, today we're starting a garden and taking all that expertise from DeLoach. We're going to dive it in at Raymond. We're talking about herbs. Today is a flower day on the biodynamic calendar. And so things are particularly fragrant, we'll put it that way. Energy is uplifting right now into flowers, into that stage of forming seeds, but also creating aromas. So it's also a good day. Flower days and fruit days are good days to taste wine because you get all those aromas that are alive in the glass.
Without a doubt. And herbs are an interesting pairing to go with wines because it's not something where you're necessarily eating that herb to pair with the wine, but you're using that herb hopefully to kind of extrapolate some different flavors and really get those different aromatics to play with those coming out of the wine as well as those going with whatever dish you're looking at. We got two exciting wines today. The first is our Louis Bernard Côtes de Rhône, made with organic grapes. Now this is coming from the southern Rhône. This is from the two main varieties, Syrah and Grenache, playing together, and just an absolutely lovely vintage in 2017. Joe, can I pour you?
Yes, please. Lovely glass. Thank you.
Now, Côtes de Rhônes are typically, because of that Syrah and the Grenache, they're a little bit on the richer side, lots of dark fruit characteristics, but they can also have some really lovely herbaceous elements to it and some spicy elements to it. A lot of people saying that it picks up those aromas from the dry Mediterranean climate where it's located. And Joe, you picked out a couple of different herbs to pair with this.
I did. I picked out rosemary. We have a number of different varieties of rosemary here throughout Raymond Vineyards and over at DeLoach. Rosemary is wonderfully adapted to California, the Mediterranean climate, which is also similar to the south of France, where the Rhône is grown. It does well. It gets a lot of, rosemary has a distinctive spicy flavor. It can be overwhelming if you have it just directly with the wine, but rubbing this on a steak or on some chicken and on a barbecued meat would go very well together and help kind of highlight some of the spiciness that's in the
You know, I think actually one of my favorite ways to have rosemary is really a simple preparation where it's just like a flatbread with a little bit of olive oil and some rosemary. That would work really well with this wine as well. You know, the wine has some beautiful fruit to it, some nice dark berries, a little bit of a smokiness, and I can just see that rosemary just singing on the top of it.
Lovely.
And you also picked some lavender.
I did. I picked some lavender too. Lavender, I was thinking south of France, Provence. There's the herb de Provence, the rosemary, lavender, and thyme are a combination that's common that goes together. Lavender has a nice fragrance, a very soft herb, but it's used sometimes commonly here. We have it in ice cream with some honey.
Yeah.
But you could also put it on that flatbread. You can put it on a lamb. We'll rub it on a lamb chop, put that on the grill, and it adds a nice little bit of fragrance.
I would actually say that I get notes of lavender in this wine. So I think that would be a lot of fun to have that in the lavender ice cream right now. You kind of caught my attention. I mean, it's a beautiful day here, but it's a little warm. So a little bit of ice cream this afternoon, some Côtes de Rhône, delicious stuff. So we have one herb today that we're not really going to be pairing with anything, but talking about some opportunities with different types of wines that would go with, and that is this one right here, this curly one. What is this?
Correct. This is tarragon. Tarragon's a wonderful French herb as well. It has, I feel, kind of a licorice type of aroma, very herbaceous, and it goes well for me in salad dressing, in the green goddess salad dressing. This with a little bit of lemon, and then put on top of, say, a wedge salad or something very light, a nice little appetizer. Tarragon is just like a wonderful summertime type of herb.
And I was thinking, you know, it'd be absolutely beautiful with our friends here at Raymond's. Our Sauvignon Blanc would go beautifully with that herb right there. So if you do happen to come by and get see the work that Joe's done at the garden here at Raymond Vineyards, maybe pick up a bottle of that Sauvignon Blanc and see how that works with some tarragon in the garden. All right, now we're going to, really the great wines of the Russian River Valley, and we're going to have some Pinot Noir from DeLoach Vineyards. As all of you know, we've been crafting Pinot Noir at DeLoach since the very beginning, being some of the first people to plant these grapes in the Olivet Bench, all the way back in the late 1960s. Today, our Russian River Valley Pinot Noir is coming off vineyards right around our own estate, our biodynamically and organically farmed estate in the center of the Russian River, as well as a great partner vineyard of ours that we work with, the Charles Heinz Vineyard out in the Green Valley, out towards Occidental and the western edge. Now, Pinot Noir from the Russian River, usually a lot of berry fruit to it, but also it can have a little bit of smokiness and some mineral elements too. What kind of herbs were you thinking with this?
I think with this, thyme. Thyme is a base herb that I like to put in almost anything. It's just such a wonderful, I feel, soft flavor, but earthy flavor as well. This would rub on any sort of fruit, or even in like a pot of beans, go very well. But also thyme goes well with garlic. And so I picked, right now we're in late May, and all of our garlic is producing scapes. So this is the seed head of the garlic. I don't want garlic to put all of its energy into producing a flower. I want it to produce that bulb. So right now we can pull off the flower heads. These are edible. Slice them up into fine little pieces, or rub them on in a marinade, and you get a very mild green garlic flavor. That's a treat, and very seasonal and very of the moment right now, and especially being a flower day, popping these off, these are full of their optimal expression.
Now, we were talking earlier about, this would be a beautiful rub on a nice piece of lamb, Sonoma County lamb. But I was also thinking, especially with this Pinot Noir, and there's kind of a mushroomy element coming out, how beautiful just sauteed mushrooms with these two herbs interlaid with them would be.
Yeah, the thyme would just bring out the... One thing that herbs talked about in the beginning was how they accentuate and pair with another item to highlight the flavor. And I feel like thyme would just bring out more of the flavors in both the mushrooms, but also in the wine.
The other element that's coming out to me on this wine, speaking of it being flower day earlier, is a rose petal element. Just really, really pretty. It almost, it makes me think of like rose hips. If you ever have bitten into a rose hip, just a beautiful high tone, almost citrusy element coming out in the wine right now.
And other herbs that pair well, not necessarily with the wine when we're drinking them, because we wouldn't eat these herbs, but pair well with the process of growing the grapes, are a number of biodynamic herbs that we put in our compost piles. So we have stinging nettles, which bring a lot of fertility of nitrogen. We have valerian, which helps to kind of ease the decomposition process in the compost pile. Horsetail, which brings silica, which the silica is a way to pull moisture out. So if we're worried about mildew, but also silica is a base element in all building blocks of cellular life, and so that also helps build and strengthen cellular structure. And then yarrow as well, which yarrow is just a wonderful one to help boost the immune system for plants. And so these are other biodynamic herbs that we use in our compost piles.
So would you add those all together to the same compost or separate compost? How would that happen?
Each herb is made in its own preparation, which is kind of a way to preserve that herb. It's combined with an animal element. For example, the yarrow is preserved in the urinary gland of a deer. And so you preserve that there, you bring those two elements together as a way of kind of making a sausage or a preparation. And then that is then, once it's preserved, it's applied to the compost pile. And all of them are applied together in the compost pile at that time to make the compost pile have all the different elements.
You got to be pretty committed to make these compost preparations, and it sounds like, if you're working with the urinary
gland. Yes.
Gland.
You do, and it really puts you in tune to what's happening in your entire environment and your whole ecosystem, because you're bringing in all these elements of what's herbs are growing around you, but also what animals are around you too.
Well, fantastic. Well, hey Joe, thanks so much for joining me here on JCB Live, and thank you all for being part of our Wine Styles with me, Brian Maloney, guest host, and Joe Papendick, our Director of Gardens. So cheers everyone, thanks again.
Cheers, thank you.